Hey, welcome back to another episode of Wholistic Conversations. I'm your host, Brittany, and today we have a guest by the name of Red Pill.
AKA Rich Phil.
Hey, there we go, Rich Phil. So today we're going to dive deep into Red Pill's story. How did he develop the name Red Pill? I mean, because we all know The Matrix, the movie, which pill would you take?
Right.
So let's dive right into it. We start every episode with some questions. Okay.
Let's go. Okay.
So we're gonna pull a random card. Okay.
I like that.
And pull.
Am I pulling it?
Yes, we both go pull one. All right, let's do it.
Dope.
And this is just to help get to know each other, just in a very authentic way. Some of the cards could be deep, so don't be alarmed.
I don't. Okay. There's no deep cards here. Like, I got it. You know what I mean? So the first one is, what would you change about yourself? And then the second one is, what annoys you the most?
Okay.
Nice icebreaker. Whoever made these, that's what's up. Kudos.
Okay.
What would you change about yourself? Is this like theoretical, or we could go into the fantasy world?
Let's just talk about you, this material, this.
Okay. What I would change about myself? I would say that, to me, man is mine. And, in my travels, I've realized that the smartest person in the room is definitely the more powerful one. So I would have unlimited intellect. I would augment my brain. That's what I would change about myself. And I feel that with doing that, it would kind of like take care of everything else, because it's really just about being able to compute and calculate everything at a faster pace. So I would do that. What annoys me the most? That's a big one, because I got a lot of pet peeves. Mm-hmm. But what annoys me the most is being misunderstood. Yeah. Yeah. When people think that they know you and they don't, and they kind of put you in this box. So that's a pet. That gets on my nerves. That's under my skin.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, mine's read, what relationship motivates you? And I would really just say my family in general motivates me, my children, my grandma, like,
right.
My whole family motivate me, my brother. Shout out to everybody. And then my second question read, what's the most helpful thing your father taught you? And the most helpful thing was really, let me see, what did he teach me? He taught me, the first thing that come to mind was, I remember, smoking marijuana on camera.
On camera,
exactly. No, just like, Snapchat, Facebook was just emerging. And at that time, it wasn't about business, or it was just about being you days. And just post it because you got friends that's on social media. So it wasn't the pressure. So I'm just being me.
Because you wasn't being clocked by your parents back then.
Exactly. So he told me, like, no, don't do that. This stuff is the internet. It's going to be out there forever. So basically how you represent yourself is very important.
That's right. Shout out to Dad. You right. I say that to my daughter, and I've said that to a lot of women that I know, that, reputation is everything. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to because you can't undo the vision that people have in their minds of you. You know what I mean? So for women especially, quality and it's number one. Like, you have to maintain a level of quality in the eyes of not only the public, but people around you, because they'll treat you different based off of your public perception.
That's very true. And let's talk about, I like to really get to know you as Red Pill, as Philp, actually. That's before you turned into Red Pill.
I was a whole Philp before that. You feel me? I was a whole Philp. I had a whole life. Mm-hmm.
So born in New York?
Born in the Bronx.
Born in the Bronx. Yeah. So that's two different things, right?
Well, New York City and New York's completely different.
Okay.
The Bronx and Brooklyn are completely different. Harlem and Queens are completely different. So we have to be very specific, because the Bronx produces a certain type of pedigree and stock of a New Yorker, and Brooklyn does the same, and the other boroughs. So there's 5 boroughs. So I'm from the Bronx, Albert Einstein Hospital, 75. You know, I'm a twin, an identical one. The first one to come out. You know, they call us a beji in the traditions and whatnot, in the African traditions. The twins are very important in the sense of the community. Henceforth, the name red pill, blue pill, but it's really red pillar and blue pillar to signify the 2 pillars and whatnot. But we'll get into that. And yeah, we was in the Bronx. My dad and my mom's, they met at Columbia University, and it was like love at first sight type thing. For at least that's what they told us. And
Right. Okay. So how was your relationship with your mother growing up?
It was great. You know what I mean? Mama was definitely, you know, she was a mother's mother, you know. She wasn't anticipating the twins. So that was kind of like she was getting used to this whole thing about 2 identical children and whatnot. And unfortunately, she was in mourning at that point because we have a 3-year-old. I lost a sister at 3. So my mother was gifted with 2 children afterwards. Okay. You know what I mean? So that was a good thing. Around the age of, I think it was like 5 or 6, we go to St. Croix with her on a trip because she's originally, my grandparents are both Crucian. They're both from St. Croix. So we go and we do the whole family thing to reconnect with the roots, take our shoes off, do a little bit of barefooting. And she meets Dr. Sebi and whatnot. So that's where everything changes.
And she was married at the time she met Dr. Okay. No, so your parents, were your parents?
They had already figured it out. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like she was already into this whole, like, it sounded like you were already grounding and being part of nature. So she kind of instilled that into you. So you wasn't like the
That's
black
just the Caribbean part.
Okay.
You feel me? Because a lot of people like the Caribbean part, and I'm so thankful for that because prior to that, we city slickers. But she brought us into the Caribbean. So we saw colorful fish for the first time. We climbed trees for the first time. We walked up the mountain. Like it was a culture shock. And she was pregnant with my younger brother, KT the arts degree, who hopefully will sit on this couch one day.
Yes.
And she was having complications. So Dr. Sebi was somebody that they was like, yeah, you might want to go see the witch doctor. He's on the top of the mountain type shit. Like it was this whole thing around him at that time.
Yeah.
Make a long story short.
Was he literally on top of the mountain?
Literally on top of the mountain, barefoot. He had given up on the pursuits of America or the USA and was basically retired on the top of the mountain doing him. And then she came and connected with him. She told him about the crack epidemic and AIDS and whatnot, which is something he wasn't too familiar with. So they made a commitment to begin this journey on healing and all the other things. They had celebrity clients back then. They had Teddy Pendergrass. They had Eddie Murphy's father. They had Danny Glover. They had a lot of people in their earlier days. So think about it. I'm a 6-year-old. I'm you know, we like, this is great, but this ain't for us. So my dad, you feel me? He's in America. He got a credit card because back in those days, credit cards were something new, right? So, you know, he's eating McDonald's. He's taking us to eat, you know, and we had to adhere to that vegan diet. And that vegan diet back then was not the glamorous vegan diet of today. It was rice cakes. You feel me?
Right.
It was some tofu. It was traumatizing. So we was like, we going to send us back home to America. We gonna thug it out with Papa. You know what I mean? Because we wasn't acclimated to this lifestyle that we were seeing, even though we were like, okay, this is different. All right, they're healing. And, you know, but back then, like I said, it wasn't accepted like that. So we wound up rocking with our dad and whatnot. And then I have a stepmom who we was introduced to. So that was really like, we kind of was split between the two after that point.
Like living like a duality. Living a duality.
It was a super duality.
Yeah.
It was two different worlds, which is good because I got to see the two
both
different,
sides.
both sides and whatnot. So yeah, but yeah, you know, after that, it was really Papa. You know what I'm saying? So I have a lot of influence from my dad, who's an English professor, who is very strict. You feel me? My mama's not that strict, but my father was very strict because, you know, he's old school. That's how they get down. You know what I mean? He had a vision about who he wanted us to be. So, yeah.
So did he accept or believe in that natural living? No, that he like that is.
My mama was eating rabbit food. You know, she was chasing the pipe dream. She was out of bounds. She didn't have a job. Like all of that stuff we heard from both our stepmother, and my dad. He wouldn't talk crazy about her, but he wasn't a fan of Dr. Sebi like that at the beginning. And he damn sure wasn't a fan of the vegan lifestyle.
Yeah.
Fast forward, my stepmother is completely vegan at this point. She used to throw shots. Completely vegan, allopathic, on that wave. You know what I mean? And so she kind of got to like, she apologized later on down the line, like, yeah, you know, I was out of order, you know, judging and everything, but your mother was definitely ahead of her time. You know what I mean? Like,
so how did that affect you as a child? Okay.
Yeah.
Against who? Your stepmother?
Yeah, that was my rebellion at like 16.
And what did that look like? Your rebelling?
Run away. I ran away. And then I left to go live with, I don't know if you know A.A. Rashid. He's a scholar in the community. No. Yeah. His mother and my mother was really clicked up. So when I ran away, and then I was like, I came back home and I was like, yeah, I need to leave because we were bumping heads and whatnot. So she sent me to Bed-Stuy, Clinton Hills, to be with Hafisa, rest in peace. That's A.A. Rashid's mother. She was a very strict into Islam, very strictly. She was like living the deen, you know what I mean? So that's my introduction into Islam. Okay. This is 91. So the minute I walked through
but before we get there, I want to touch more on that. You know, you say as a child you're running away, and like, so what was going on?
Okay.
That we go get there.
Yeah. So So let me paint the picture for you.
Okay.
This is like, keep in mind, at the end of the day, hip hop is I'm a 75 baby, so all I know coming up isn't hip hop, because people think that it was all about, no, we was into Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, we was into all kind of music. That's how our generation was raised up. We were not one way. We had an influence. So I live in Flatbush at this point. I'm in Brooklyn at this point, right? So when I leave St. Croix, we fly back, and my dad is living in Flatbush. So we like, this is a culture shock but it's not that much of a culture shock because we got an accent, but we're living amongst other people with accents. And it's Caribbean cooking, it's Caribbean living. So it's not like we went to a completely, you know, FBA type of thing where they were like, damn, what's going on? You know what I mean? So we were like adapted to that. So the culture is running things in my life at this point. So the influence of the culture is stronger than my parents' influence. So now I'm being introduced to, like, they were, back in our days, it's called posses. They call it gangs now, but there was posses. So we get accepted, me and my brother get accepted into a posse around our way. So now with the posse, they break day. They hang out. These are children whose parents were going through the crack epidemic at that point. So things are becoming a little bit looser. And then we have the OGs, and the way that the OGs would handle us back then is they would kind of cherry pick who's the delinquents, who are they going to completely, you know, enter into the underworld, and who's just like runners, or, you know, go to the store, because they could tell just by looking, you know. So of course I'm like, I'm in the crib, we got curfew, you know, my father's like, when the lights come on, y'all better be whole. So I'm like, shit, I'm missing out on this late night shit. You know what I'm talking about? I'm coming on the block, and they like, yeah, last night we broke day, you know what I'm saying, shorty, I met up with shorty, you know, I made some money, you know. So I'm like, I'm missing out on things. So one day, And then my father's an atheist and my mother's not religious, right? But coming up, the bad kids in the neighborhood they went to church, right? So they had the vans coming through. You know, bad kids is always connected to the church somehow. So I go to the church. Me and my brother go to. So there's a girl in my building that I'm talking to. So she's like, yeah, you know, she's Haitian. She's like, yeah, I'm going to church on Sunday. That would be real good if you was there. I was like, so I'm there. You know what I mean? Right. I said, say less. We there. So I go to the church, and on the way back from the church in the van, we having so much fun with the crew and everybody that I tell my brother, I'm like, I ain't going home. Mm-hmm. He like, what you mean? I'm like, nah, I ain't going home. I'm chilling. He like, you can't do that. I'm like, nah, I'm just staying. I'm not going home. So I traumatized my brother. He had to go home and tell my dad, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Phil. Like, he ain't coming home. He was like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. So they was looking for me and everything. Yeah. And, you know, I came home the next day. I was like, you know, I explained to them, I was like, I think that, you know, I don't want to be in this situation because it's just not working type shit. You know what I'm saying?
So your dad, I'm assuming back in the day, is more so the disciplinary, right? So,
but the stepmother was more disciplinary than the father.
Why? Because she was around more than the father? Because was he working or?
Her upbringing. Her upbringing was heavy Southern. You feel me? Okay. Her mother didn't take no shit. You know what I'm saying? So she didn't take no shit. She didn't have a child at that point. So we were her adopted children in a way. So she was just on our tail. She was on our, you know what I mean? He's working. She's working too. But she's the one that's feeding us, taking care before he comes home. So he's the proverbial, wait till your father come home. Right. Oh, Lord, what you mean? Well, when he, you know what I'm saying? So the phone calls from the teachers type shit. Oh, your father gonna handle. He gonna beat your ass, boy. Y'all messing up. Yeah, you know what I mean. So we were kind of being, we needed that. Like they're looking back, like if we didn't have somebody on us, we would have really been out there.
Do you think her being the more disciplinarier that caused a disconnect between you all as well? Because you like, did you ever have that disassociation? Like, well, you're really not my mother, you know?
Oh, plenty times.
Yeah.
By the time I ran away, my sister was in the picture. That's when it changed. So now she has a biological child. Feel me? And we like, you know, so now we doing shit to get attention and to be seen and to be heard and taken more serious, because once the baby comes in, she takes over everything, right? So yeah, we good with her, but now we looking at that maternal love. Like, I need that from, you know what I mean? I need that from both of you. I need the paternal love from the father and the mother. We here. So then when we became kind of like second fiddle, it was like, fuck that. We turning up. You know what I mean? So the turn up was real.
So and you talk about your brother and you being a twin. So it seemed like you all maybe were a little different. You was more like.
I'm extroverted. He's introverted. That's the dynamics of the twins. So I was, you know, we was both bad, but I was more of the extrovert. So I was the one who would be front facing.
Okay.
Yeah, I get blamed for a lot of things.
Okay. So you both still, even though you were twins, still had your own separate identities.
Yes. Okay. That was very important in the whole twin thing. You know, us coming up in the earlier days, we were one person. And when I began to rebel and break away, it was also me trying to establish my own identity. You feel me? Like subtly, I was like, this is me type shit. Like I'm, you know, I was, you know, we talking maturity. We talking about when you get into what's that? When your hormones kick in and whatnot. So I'm going through puberty. I'm going through all of that. So with that, you know, I'm like, I need to establish my domain, who I am. And a lot of twins rock out all the way to adulthood on someone. We dress the same, but we never did none of that. We didn't. I would wear red. They would put red on me. They would put blue on him. This before the Matrix came out. So we talking 91, 92, 93. This is us getting into like the clothing. So we were boosters. We became boosters back then because of the polo shit. You know what I mean? That was taking over.
And boosters are people that sell clothes on the street? I'm assuming that's
boosters are people who boost clothes. We don't sell them on the street, but in particular, you know.
Wait, so you like steal clothes? You steal clothes like off the truck, kind of like a baby boy in that scene when he like.
What you seeing right now with the kids in the stores? We started that in New York.
Okay.
And we were not running out of stores particularly. We wasn't doing it to be inconspicuous. We were doing it to be. It was a craft that you did not blow yourself up. You did not put it out there. You were not on camera. You were like in a cut. You know what I mean? So the boosters is, you know, we learned that from a lot of women in New York. They perfected that. And then Jamaicans who were in America who came over, that became their craft on the side. And like I said, I'm in Flatbush, so I'm influenced by that underworld. And one of the things that saved my life that I can accredit to my dad and being him as a disciplinary, he put a gun on the table one day. He said, you know, I'm hearing about, you know, this crack thing going on, and I'm just want to let you know that if I hear anything about you and your brother selling crack to our people, to your people, that this I'm gonna take you out. And I got people that will take you out. And I got people that's watching y'all anyway. And if they tell me anything about y'all selling drugs, I'm gonna take you out. Cause I didn't create you and your we didn't get this far for you to disgrace my name like this. So he probably had an inclination that we was doing some shit.
Right.
But he drew the line at drug dealing. So with that, we was like, but once again, the OGs was selecting, right? Because that's how it before everybody jumped off the porch and elected themselves, there was a selection taking place back in those days. So we never got selected to be that type anyway. They was like, y'all too smart. They saw the light in us. My OGs was the first one that gave me a manual by Malachi Z. York, because back in those days in New York, he was kind of like, he was for the underworld. The underworld was rocking with him. The streets was going to Farrakhan, Malachi Z. York, and Khaled. Those were the people that talked the language of the hood. So the OGs who had righteous names like Scientific, they came out of, they were like the offshoot of the God bodies and whatnot, but they were still eating off the land. You feel me? They were still into criminology, but there was a balance. The crack game threw all of that off. The crack game broke the balance and just took them into a real darker place. This is what you see in the Wu-Tang series. If you ever watch the Wu-Tang series, they'll show you how like the God bodies had to get into criminology to kind of like get out of poverty, because the poverty shit was real back then.
Right. So then, so with you growing up, crack epidemic, your father putting that fear in you, say, hey, you know, when did you connect with your mother again? And how old were you? And how did you channel the energy from being in the underground to Dr. Sebi? And,
right.
You know, that's still two different dualities for sure.
I mean, not really.
Did you ever go back? Did you go back with your mother and live with them and everything? Or
that's me in '97 coming to Atlanta.
Okay.
But prior to that, we would be in. She was in Harlem, so we was doing weekends in Harlem. So we would do weekends with our moms.
Got it.
My mother was she had less. It was more easier for us. It was like a relief, like. We're going to eat this vegan shit,
right?
But we're going to be able to chill. Like, we don't have that pressure, because it was wild pressure coming from my dad and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I tell any parent, the pressure didn't stop anything. Like, you could put wild pressure, but we got around that pressure. We were still outside. We were still making names for ourselves, even with pressure. We just knew how to work around it. So we would go and see her over the weekends, and, you know, the progression of what they were doing. We would see the growth and development of the movement, just based off of, you know, their breakthroughs. They were doing breakthroughs. And then when the case happened, well, keep in mind, we would go to Usha Institute, just that was right there where they have it in Brooklyn. They have the what they call the Barclay Center, where they play the Barclay Center is built right on top of where Dr. Sebi's Usha Institute originally was, which was on Flatbush and Atlantic. And we would go to his loft every weekend, you know what I mean? Because we lived in Brooklyn and they had their business in Brooklyn. So that was like a shoo-in.
Right.
This is like 86. This is like 87, 88, 89. There was a spot across the street called Knapp's, which was like it was like a luxury barbershop, and they perfected the flat top, right? But the haircuts was $20. And we talking back then, that was like, that a pair of sneakers was $30. So a $20 haircut, you feel me? But because Dr. Sebi, you know, he was the one who was like my mother's therapist, because she had, the children was bad. We was bad and whatnot. We was getting in a lot of trouble. So he was the one who was trying to explain to her, this is a phase. These are teenagers. They're rebelling. Let it happen. Don't take it personal, because she was taking a lot of shit personal. And yeah, he was there for her. He was talking to us. He was sitting us down. But when you gone, you gone.
Right. Until you have that awakening.
Right.
So
but I would tell any parent or any OG, pour in to that badass child, pour into that lost soul, because they will remember it. They're going to remember you in a jail cell. They're going to remember you on a hospital bed. They're going to remember you when they're suffering, right? But if you never poured into them, they have nothing to draw from. That shit came online. All of them things that he told me came online when I was in a jail cell. I ignored it when I was hearing it. I was like, yeah, word, okay. Well, I'm eating salad. Like, all right, okay, cool. Don't, all right. I hear you. You know what I mean? But it wasn't, I was so gone. I was so drawn into the allure of the underworld had such a great pull on us. And like I said, I brought the culture up because it was the culture that indoctrinated us. Like we was into comic books. We was into video games. I was one of the first, me and my brother, like I said, my dad was a provider.
Right.
He had a credit card. He used to take us to Bloomingdale's. He had the gold American Express back then. He would give us anything that we wanted. We was the first children on our block with the Nintendo. The whole crib turned into a goddamn arcade. You know what I mean? But we have to sneak them in when they was at work. And the minute he told me and my brother that we couldn't have something, that's the day that we kind of crossed over and said, well, we're going to take it type shit.
Okay.
And
that's when the boosting came.
We was taking G.I. Joes first. You know what I'm saying? We was stealing G.I. Joes out of King's Plaza. We was boosting like little toys and shit. And and then when we went to high school and we got introduced to, you know, going to the mall and like getting busy type shit. We didn't know nothing about that, but then somebody showed us the way, and everything, it wasn't planned.
Right.
You know, it just happened, and we made that decision.
So when was that spiritual awakening? When was that moment where it's like, okay, Dr. Sebi instilling these things in you, your mom instilling these things in you, you experience these things when you're at home with your dad and stepmom and in the streets and everything, the underground. So when was that spiritual awakening?
Like, I came to Atlanta in 1997. My mama bought a house in 96, right, out here. I came right after the Olympics. My brother had went to the Freaknik and was telling me about the Freaknik in 96. So I was like, shit, I'm going. I need to be out there. So I was on a run, right? Parole violation. You know, I was like, I'm out of here. I left New York. I came down here. I went to a spot called a Tabernacle. They had an event called, I remember it as Fat Black Pussycat, but they're telling me that it's another name. And there was a promoter, his name is Jason Orr, right? He's out here, he's a legend, right? He's the one who brought Neo Soul. He brought Erykah Badu and a bunch of them to the forefront. And then they got signed by Motown, but he's one of the progenitors of a certain type of ethos. I went to an event. There was 3 stories in the Tabernacle right downtown. I saw a nude painting. I saw consciousness that I've never saw before. It blew me the fuck away. I was in there with Akon brother, my dude Black O. And we didn't know what we was gonna see. We heard that the Goody Mob was performing. So we was like, we pulling up. So I go in there and I see shit that I never seen before. I see consciousness in a light that I've never seen young people or people of a certain age demographics practicing, or just it's a lifestyle, right? So prior to that, I knew about righteousness, I knew about spirituality, but never as a lifestyle. Even what Sebi and was doing, it was a lifestyle, but it wasn't all encompassing. Mm-hmm. So that would be, I put that as one of my first moments to where I was like, I visualized this could be a reality. Mm-hmm. Then I went to Miami, right? In 2003, I got hired as a stylist, right? And they flew me out there and put me up right by the beach and everything. And it was some industry stuff with an artist, Pitbull. Everybody know Pitbull now, but prior to that, nobody knew who he was. And we started work. I was there when he got signed in New York. I was right there at TVT. And that didn't work out. After like a year and a half, it was shit didn't really work out. And then I started rocking with an independent group named Duo Live out of Brooklyn. These are Nyabingis, which is like Rastafarians who are very strict. I tell food. They on that, they really strict with their shit. So they was living in a mansion in a design district, and they was doing a lot of, they was independent artists. So they would go to the beach every day and grind. But I saw a level of money that I ain't never seen before, even from industry folks. You feel me? Like they was getting to it. So that was like an awakening to me that, there's a possibility of not being taken care of by the industry, not being taken care of by the underworld. You could take care of yourself independently, doing the shit that you love, standing on righteousness, right? So I was like, prior to that, I went to something called Black August, and I saw Erykah Badu live, and I cried. You feel me? I sent for my mama. This was like 2 a.m. She was in the Bronx. I said, I'm gonna pay for a cab, come through. It wasn't no Uber back then. She came to the joint like 2:30, and thank God Erykah Badu come on late, cause she wasn't there yet. So I stood there with my mama, and I literally cried because I saw a youthful movement that I yearned for developing before my very own eyes. These was niggas with baggy jeans. They had, you know what I mean? They was hood, like, you know what I mean? They was hood. So it was like, wow, the hood is on this. Coming from the Dr. Sebi world, I didn't know that this would be accepted like that.
Right.
So fast forward, I saw that group Duo Live that night. This might have been 2002. Fast forward, we in Miami and we vibing and we living together. We making money. I'm documenting their journey and everything, and I'm just learning. And I'm learning about Selassie. I'm learning about the Rastas and stuff. So I'm humbled and everything. But at the same time, I'm still plugged into the conscious community through DVDs though. Right. So I would pop up at a lecture here and there, but I was really locked in through the DVD era, similar to how people locked in through YouTube. So they're vicariously living through their favorite teachers, but they ain't really break bread with them.
Right. Because that is a way that people back then learned. That was the research. Right. The DVD, somebody DVDs. Pulling up on you.
Right. You feel me?
Because my children's father actually grew up in that era. Right. And that's what he always go back to that, like, yeah, so-and-so used to give me these DVDs and I used to watch them. Man. And I think, wow, that's like, they were really,
DVD era. We used to call it David. DVD is like, I don't want to go too deep, but that was like the whole David thing. And it's like, that's an era. And that was like, that sparked a lot of the heavy hitters of today.
What I would say, what was your favorite lecture or DVD that, and like really like,
I could remember specifically, I had a lot of favorites, but there was one called The Anatomy of Phil Valentine. I actually watched that in Brooklyn, going through a midlife crisis, right? In the projects, like in East New York, which is very dangerous. I hit 30 and I went through a midlife crisis. This is in 2005. This is when I got my spiritual awakening. 2 years later when my son was born, because that changed everything in '07. But '05, after I left Miami, I come to New York in '05 to help my brother out because he was going through something. And I wound up saying, I ain't leaving. I forsake everything that I left in Miami, clothes, processions, everything. And I just was like, I'm staying here. I had a spindle, right? And I had some peanut butter. I had like 2 jars of peanut butter. Niggas ain't have nothing in the house. It was that bad. Yeah. I'm eating the peanut butter and I'm watching mad different videos. I'm talking about, I must have binged for about 3 days. Just sitting there going through, my life was like going through a recording. Then I threw on a DVD and it was my favorite master teacher at that time, Dr. Phil Valentine. And it was called The Anatomy of Dr. Phil Valentine. And he gave us the history because there is no blog talk back then. There is no Instagram. There is no YouTube. Your master teachers were not approachable.
And what did you say when you say he gave you the history? What history did he give you?
He gave me his history. Okay. And the DVD was 3 parts. He was being interviewed by a man named Sonetta at that time. And that was the time that he told in the video, this was because back then, the lecturers, like Bob, it was 3 major ones: Bobby Hemmett, Phil Valentine, and Dr. Blair. And then there was the distributors, right, or the promoters, and they were all powerful, right? They were like Netflix, right? So based on who's distributing certain teachers is who got the power. So there was a discrepancy with Brother Shabazz, who's from Brooklyn, with Phil Valentine, where he was like, I ain't rocking with him no more. We rocking with Sonetta, who's from Harlem. So it's almost like the DVD, you know what I mean? It's like where rap music was with the Vibe magazine and the Source back in the days before it became blogs and it's everywhere and it's 24/7. Right. Whatever went down in that magazine, whatever they said is the word, that was the word. So when he said Sonetta is the new shit, that's when I was like, I'm going to Harlem. I'm gonna find this dude. I'm rocking with him because my master teacher told me to rock with him.
Right. So what was that one piece of advice you took away from that you still probably live with till today that you watched from that DVD?
That we all don't grow up as what we see as giants. It's a process. He made me throw that peanut butter away and get the fuck up and take this shit serious. Because once I finished the anatomy, I say, oh, he's human. He was going through it too, type. Like they were. I don't think people understand. Like they were 1,000 feet tall in our eyes back then. You couldn't talk. You know how people talk greasy online and they be trying to approach certain scholars and talk down it. You could not do that back then. You would get your shit rocked. You know what I mean? Going all the way back to the days of like the Nation and Father Allah with the gods. Like people came up missing to talk crazy. It wasn't accepted because these people were saving us. They were our saviors. They were off limits to any type of reproaches. Even with Sebi coming up, I seen people crossing the line and got handled because you couldn't, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no, we not doing that. They respected and they appreciated and they valued those people like they were untouchable, like they were godfathers.
Right. So you're saying that piece of advice that you took away was, okay, this is a process, right?
This is a process.
So you put that peanut butter down, right? And then what was your end goal of the process? Because every process do have like that ultimate vision. So what were you yearning for? What was the thing that you were trying to get at?
I just wanted to get in.
Get in where?
I get into the movement.
Okay, that consciousness movement.
I went from being a purveyor, a voyeur of it, to now it became part of me. I wanted to be it. So when I found out that you could be it by going to Harlem and they were being it, they were living it, right? Like I wanted to live the everyday of it. That didn't exist back then. You would just get it when you got it on DVD.
Right.
But I was like, wait, you could live it? So my grandfather lived in Harlem. He was in a nursery spot. I went to see him, took care of him, you know what I mean, was locked in with him. He was like, yeah, there's this crazy nigga in Harlem named Sonetta. I think you, and when he said that, I remember the name from the Valentine thing. So my grandfather was on 117th. I was like, You mean to tell me he right there? He was like, yeah, that nigga's on 125th Street with a bullhorn. I went over there. When I went over there, it was an open marketplace, bustling, right? So the thing about New York that Atlanta and other places don't got is foot traffic. People underestimate foot traffic like that's a bad thing. I remember walking in Atlanta and they pulling over like, you all right? I'm looking at them in their car like, is you all right? You need to get out and walk.
No, for sure.
You need to get out and walk.
Yeah. Okay, so you start developing your sense of being. Who do I want to be? Right?
Right.
And you wanted to be a part of this conscious community.
Right.
And like you got a taste of you. Like, yeah, I
Woo.
want
I
that day.
That day on 25th, because I'm a remember at the end of the day, I get it out the mud. I've been selling clothes my whole life. So I'll go on 25th, I see it bustling. I asked one of my elders who was always locked in, he was always selling next to Sinetta, Dr. Jock Felder. I say, do you think maybe I could, put my clothes out here, like get a table? He was like, of course, come on, fuck, what are you talking about? Hey, you Dr. Sebi's people, because that was already like leading, that would lead me to certain places. They would like tag me like that.
Because it gave you like validation.
Yeah, and whatnot. So I put 3 T-shirts. I didn't have a lot at that moment. I put 3 shirts on the table. 2 of them sold. It was over after that.
Right.
Called the niggas in Miami. Yeah, like I'm gonna be out here for a little bit longer. And I don't want to skip over the fact that in 2003 I met my son's mother at the Magic Show in Las Vegas. And it was one of the most magical moments of my life. Okay. I promise you. It was, this shit was like, I might have to write a book about it. Yeah. It was the most magical night where time literally froze. We might have been spending 72 hours with each other and it was only like 8 hours type shit.
Right.
So now she's in New York. So I'm pursuing her, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm staying. That was one of my life decisions. Like if I would have left, I would have never been red pill types. You know what I mean? So I could make money now selling clothes. I had a girl that I was feeling, and my grandfather was like, you could come up here and just rock out. So everything was kind of set for me. I wasn't red pill yet. You feel me? But I was feeling like there was a purpose. I didn't have a purpose prior to that other than getting money, getting fly, selling clothes. I would, I would carry all my money in my pocket. I didn't have no stash. It's like everything that I owned was in my pocket or my pencil pocket or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so you met the love of your life at that time. It stopped the moment. And I want to like kind of shift this conversation a little bit because I feel like you have done some psychedelics. And that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. That's right. Because psychedelics can bring those spiritual awakenings, those aha moments. It kind of connect all the pieces to the journey. It can. So tell me about your first encounter to psychedelics and what did you use?
Okay, so the year's 2002. Dr. Sebi and them got a spot on St. Mark's, right? And my mother's running it. They got a brownstone, right? So she's running the brownstone. She got the Brooklyn operation popping and whatnot. So he pops up every now and then in town. So he comes in town, and mind you, I'm still rough around the edges at this point. My brother's more polished. KT and Blue, they're a little more polished and whatnot. But anybody coming around could tell, like he's a little out. He's drawn outside the lines. Like he's you know what I mean? He's 10 toes into the street shit, right? So he hits me with a bag of zip. He hits me with a Ziploc of some shrooms. And he was like, yeah, this shit worked for your sister, because I got an older sister, and she was
you thought you were something. She was on a whole nother. Yeah.
I kind of was following her footsteps type shit. She used to beat me up type shit. Like my sister, you literally would try to beat me up just to get me out of certain things that I was throwing myself into. Like she would throw herself in the middle of shit like, no, you not doing that. You ain't going there. I'd be like, get out my way. And we would be just going through it.
Right.
So he said the mushrooms helped her calm her down. Take these. So at the time, there was a VHS of a movie called Final Fantasy. right? Which was, they had just released it. So it was a mixture of animation or CGI with real life. This was the first time anybody saw that outside the video games. And keep in mind, I'm still a video game kid. I'm still a nerd. I'm still into art and everything. That's my shit, right? That's like my love language. So I go home, I throw the VHS on, I open up the Ziploc, I pop like 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, ooh, these are nasty, man. What the hell? And then I start feeling weird and shit. I start feeling the sensations and I start yawning and everything. I'm like, this is weird. Like, why am I? But then I'm still mindful that this is shrooms. Like, and you know, back then I wasn't a big weed smoker. I wasn't really into nothing like that. But long story short, I watched the movie. I cried uncontrollably, tears of joy. I feel things that I've never felt before. I literally have a vision of my future, right? And it was on from there.
And what was the vision?
Who I am now.
Okay.
It was literally me standing on the same stage that I used to watch Sebi stand on in Brooklyn, and I'd be in the audience on a beanbag like this, just saying, what if I was on that stage one day? I don't know how I'm going to be. I don't know what I'll be talking about, how I'm going to get there. But I was so in awe of his demonstration. You feel me? And his freedom. He was the freest man that I knew. You dig what I'm saying? He was so free, and he had multiple women. Because my mother was one of many. You feel me? And, you know, at first she was his apprentice. And I don't even know, I to be honest with you, I don't know all of the behind. I don't know all of that. You know, she could have been his muse. She could have been his wife. I don't know. I was a little kid. You know what I mean? But what I do know is that he was he was surrounded by the divine feminine principle. You feel me? Like he was surrounded by it, by multiple, and the attraction of women was a constant thing for him. Like we used to be at the front desk, and women would come in, and you know you could see it in their eyes, type shit. Like, where's Sebi? Well, I want to talk to him on. I'm like,
yeah.
Hey, what's that about?
Okay, you know so that was your first interaction with mushrooms. Okay,
I didn't pick.
And then, okay, fast forward. Yeah. Your second encounter, because I did when I went to your podcast, Melanated Mondays, right? Shout out to Melanated Mondays. Tune in every Monday. Yes. All right, you talked about the frog and the toad in Mexico, because that's where they do that. That's the origin of it, right?
The toad is Mexico. Well, it's Bufo avalaris is what it's called, and it's called the God molecule. So you got the spirit molecule and you got the God molecule. The spirit molecule would be rated as DMT, like straight DMT, right? And you have hallucinations. You might see things, right? The whole shit might collapse. This whole reality might collapse, and you'll see the simulation. The God molecule is different. You don't hallucinate. It's an inner feeling. You connect, and you have what is called the ego death. That shit took me a long time to even walk to that. I was afraid for 6 months because my brother is the one who brought me into this. So my brother randomly is like, yeah, you know, I went over there and I had a talk with God. I had talked to God face to face. So my brother was always the nigga who we would smoke weed and he'd be like, yo, you know we God, right? And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Stop the bullshit. Just smoke, nigga. He would always get deep over the blunt. And I used to blow me because I was like, what are you talking about? Like, fam, oh my goodness. Like, I would get up and leave. This was like early 2000s. This is before this became a thing. So now he randomly says, I talk to God. So I was like, I don't want to talk to God. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not fucking with no God shit. Like, what are we doing? And 6 months took, you know, I began to do a little bit of research and soften up to the idea of going there. Lionsgate 8/8 is on August the 8th. Lionsgate 2000 and I think it was 19. Yeah, it was 19. I say, fuck it. We're gonna go this route because after the shroom thing with Dr. Sebi, back then, it took me many, many years to even do that again, right? But I was like, I need something else. You feel me? I need something else. I want to completely, I want to unravel. I want to take this inner trip, right? I want to go inside and whatnot. And I just went ahead and I went through the gate. I went through the Lion's Gate. And this is where I got this from. This is acacia wood. This is given to me by a shaman, right? So it has gold in it, it has copper in it, it has a lot of stuff. Acacia wood that you read in the Bible. And that was one of the most powerful experiences that I've ever encountered.
And with this particular plant medicine or toad, there we go, toad, are you inhaling it through the nose?
Smoked it.
You, okay.
From a pipe. Like your boy, like I was Bigsley of those.
And then are you like, so is it like, okay, once you smoke it, once you inhale it,
it's a 3-hit thing? Yeah.
Okay, then you kind of just zone out.
Yeah, so he had the so it's not required, but they say that you should do it in nature, right? Because you're literally, this is what I tell people the shrooms are, and this is what some of the plant-based, because I don't do chemicals. If it's in the lab, I'm not effing with it. I only do if it don't say medicine, I ain't doing it because I need medicine. Shrooms is almost like when your phone is connected to the Wi-Fi. It connects you to the Wi-Fi of nature. But you got to be in nature. So if you go in the forest, or if you go in the jungle, or if you go into these trails, because this is all ancestral trails around here. They literally wiped out the natives and built all of this shit around native land. This is all on sacred land. So you go on a trail and you go to Stone Mountain or anywhere that's sacred, and you're going to connect to the spirits. You're going to connect to the energy, the frequencies. It's almost like when your phone connects to Wi-Fi, then you start getting all of those downloads. You start getting all of them text messages and your emails come in and everything. That's exactly what happens on a human level, because they're mimicking us with the technology. This is what we naturally do. So the minute I hit the heroic dose on the shrooms, downloads. Then when I did the toad, downloads. I'm seeing things. I saw some shit on the toad that made me say, no one man should have all that power. It intimidated me because it was too powerful. Feel me? It was too powerful.
Tell me what was that one thing you seen that like still live with you to today? Like what was the thing?
Okay. That we, not me and you, how we look in this spacesuit, you know what I mean? Which looks very great at the end of the day. That's not us. That's the ego. I'm not black. I'm not Indian. I'm not from Brooklyn. I'm not a twin. I'm not even a man. I am a light. I'm a sentient light being who encompasses, this is literally a vehicle. This like a Tesla on the planet though. In the movie, the Avatar is the closest thing to show you that you are somewhere on a higher plane and you've downloaded your light being into this vehicle that could basically travel through this binary. This is a binary world and whatnot. And certain spacesuits can't work on this world, but certain spacesuits on other worlds, this spacesuit won't work on another world or another planet. And it can only work on this plane of existence because this is what it's built for. So we're inhabiting, if you ever seen somebody's light, if you ever see somebody take their last breath, you'll know that the light leaves the body and the body is just a husk. And that husk, I can put that shit in the backyard and it becomes one with the mycelium network. It's not real. This is not, it's animated because of the light, because of the energy, because of what's inside of it. I saw on that trip, not what I saw, I experienced that this light is like an ocean of light. And that ocean of light is where all of us come from. And that's what we will return to. I was smiling so hard that my cheeks hurt it the next day. That's how much in ecstasy and bliss I was. And that it was nothing scarier. My shaman told me this. This is how he prepared me. Because once again, he's playing he got the surround sound. It's the water. It's like the ocean. Then he got the water in front of me. You know, so the whole setting is like set up like we in nature. Then he said that the most dominant energy in the universe is love. He said, you don't know nobody that goes into the spirit realm and comes back with fear. The fear is only native to the earth. It don't exist outside of the earth. He said, think love supreme on a journey. He said, just think love supreme, love supreme. He said, love is the glue to the universe. Even with the multiple dimensions and the multiple beings, they travel on that frequency. There's no hate. Like there's the hate. That's some earth prison planet shit. I was like, that's deep.
Yeah.
So I went into the journey just repeating love supreme, love supreme, love supreme, love supreme. No fear. I left all of that fearful shit out of the way. And it was so much love. It was almost orgasmic. Feel me? I had to remember it's a nigga right there like, you know what I'm saying? You can't go too many, you know what I mean? Because I literally would have started like going into that place where it was like I would just give in to the orgasmic feeling because it was like a body orgasm type shit. And you know, when I came back to my it was like a 20-minute travel or trip, and I came back and I was like, wow, this is I learned some shit that I could never learn in a book. Like I could tell you about climbing a mountain, you could read about it, but then when you climb it, you now have the experience and you could teach others from a place where I did it. Fuck reading about it. I did it. It's a different teaching modality. So living something versus reading about it and prophesizing about it, proselytizing about it, two different things.
For sure.
So we here to live this experience.
And sometimes too with media, they can hinder our experiences. And
right.
I'm sure my grandma probably watching, but I'm going to talk to you here.
Right.
So
right. And I got to make the disclaimer too.
Yes.
I have to make the disclaimer because I have to be a responsible adult. Family, this is what I've done on my journey. It will not make you red pill. It's my personal experience because I want to experience it. And I know, and I've divorced fear to the point where I came here to experience shit. Right. So I have to say that because people will hear me talking and run out and abuse shrooms. I did it for medicine. I didn't do it for abuse. Case in point, I did it that year, and the next time I did it might have been 8 years later, right? I people have taken medicine and made it recreational. Even with the marijuana, it's not recreational. It's a sacrament. So don't abuse these things, y'all. Believe you me. Don't abuse the shroom. Don't abuse the plant-based medicines because it will abuse you.
Yeah. And speaking of that, the experience part, like sometimes our media can hinder
fear.
Fear. And because, for instance, my grandma, I'm like, yeah, grandma, you know, come to Atlanta, live with me, you know, you got your grandchildren, like, come on, you can do it. But she's just like, no, Atlanta is white, the political system is red. And I'm just like, grandma, but you never been here until you are here. Right. You would never know what exists.
So we saw it with C-19, and we saw it with the Jabberwocky, right? The jab. That if we don't liberate our elders and our loved ones from the media, what they call the idiot box that they try to liberate us from, they in trouble. We on the internet. They still on Fox News. She gave you the talking points for CNBC and CNN.
Because that's the information she got. Right. Yep.
So the well that they're drinking from is deliberately poisoned by the people who know the demographics of who they're putting in fear. Remember, the news can't speak favorably about a stock because they will get stock insider. They will get flagged by the SEC. They can't speak favorably about anything because it would be insider trading. So they have to speak negative. Oh, run away from crypto. How, Sway? People got rich off of that already. They gonna get rich. I know people that's already millionaires based off of listening to our radio show and not the media. But if the media said buy Bitcoin when it was at $1, then it would be a wealth class of people that they will have not been ready for. That's why they're mad like that, because the wealth class is coming out of this cryptocurrency is not old money. It's not the good old boys. It's not Ivy League. You feel me? henceforth why they threw all of the fear and they sabotaged it, and then they came in through the side door and now they running it.
Right. Yeah. So just for anyone that is out there, if you are someone that is experiencing fear or feel limited or trapped and is scared to step into the unknown, I highly encourage you to do it. You know, because
you saying that too?
Oh yeah, okay. No, for sure.
You heard? Look. She said it, not me. The goddess said it. She's letting you know.
Because I feel like the unknown is the best place to be, because you're going to learn so much about you, the world, and what it has to offer. And I actually feel like for me personally, I lost both of my parents. My dad passed away in 2019. My mom passed away when I was like a couple months old. And the difference sometimes I see between me and my friends was I was never limited. I always did what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I feel like that's why I'm in a position to be who I am, because I had the freedom to see what I like and what I don't like.
Right.
And I never allowed my parents' perspective or anyone's perspective to hinder me in any type of way. Like, my father would be like, you know, before I went off to college, you're like, no, stay home, go to trade school. You can make $80,000. You only got to go to school for 2 years. You're going to, you know, he gave me all of that.
What college you went
to? Southern Illinois University of Carbondale.
Dope.
Yep.
Okay.
And I still I went there more for freedom, not for education.
I feel you.
Because it was like I was the youngest at that time. You know, everyone else went off to school except for my brother. And I'm like, no, I just got to get out the house. And that was the only next option, to get out the house and to just be free, be amongst other people. So I really feel like college is an experience that
I was going to go to the armed services.
Okay.
To get out of the streets. I was going to go to the armed force. My mom's had blew me up one day on the interview. She was like, yeah, that nigga was going to go to the army. I was like,
right.
You're supposed to be militant.
Exactly.
But nah, I wanted to, I wanted to save myself. And, but I wound up going to the other rites of passage, which is the penitentiary.
Mm-hmm. And so how long were you in the penitentiary?
Not long. I did. A penitentiary type of person.
Okay.
But I get sat down. I've gotten sat down when, my life had to be saved. It literally probably helped me from getting my shit pushed back, because it was a period where I was losing a lot of peers, to gang violence and gun violence and, just odd shit. And one of the things that I could say for sure is that, what don't kill you, you know what I mean? Or what don't break you is going to help you. Mm-hmm. And I got discipline. Mm-hmm. I got to sit down and get some I went to boot camp. I didn't go to no big house. I went to boot camp. They shaved me bald and they had me waking up at 4 a.m. I was carrying logs, jogging up mountains. They was breaking the boy. You know what I mean? They had me on they was yelling in my face, calling me inmate. They weren't even calling me my name. But in hindsight, it was like, you got away with so much. You feel me? You dodged so many bullets, bro. Like, you had to get disciplined. And sometimes if you don't self-discipline, and sometimes if you don't accept the discipline that others are trying to levy on you, you will be disciplined. So there's 2 million of us behind the wall right now, what we call buried alive. But that's Hiram Abiff.
So you said before, at some point in time, you're losing a lot of your close friends, possibly family members, due to gun violence. So how do you handle grief? Right.
Yeah. I've absorbed a lot coming up. I've been through a lot of trauma, and I would say that my journey is my medicine in a sense. Like, I'm able to feel better about myself because of my position. I'm able to feel, healed in a sense because people who grew up with us, who might be the sister of the person that lost their life, might have been one of my first girlfriends, might have been somebody who was right there at the funeral. I just went to a funeral in 2019 for one of my day ones. Mm-hmm. And he pulled over on the highway and just left. You know what I mean? It wasn't even like an accident. It's we don't even know what's to this day. Mm-hmm. And it's like, sureties that I get from people who is trapped still. Like, yeah, I'm still trapped, bro. I can't get out this shit. But you and your brother, y'all are our hope type shit. Like, I'm proud of you. I knew that y'all had it in y'all. Like, So it's like when I get that assurance, it's a healing. It's a healing factor. Like, I got a friend pulled up right now. He's outside, him and his son, and he got shot in the face and whatnot when we was in high school. And he was there when one of my close friends lost his life. And like, just to reconnect, just me being connected with my people, like I can't never disconnect from my history because that's how I receive my blessings. Like those are the people that I know. They know the real story. People see me on YouTube and they don't know nothing about me. They only know what I show them.
And so this brings me to my next point of discussion. What is some misconceptions of red pill?
That, I'm a very fiery person. You feel me?
What's your sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So red and blue, like me and my brother, I'm extro, he's intro. He's more cerebral. I'm more of the root chakra. I'm very fiery. People think that like, I'm very aggressive, and that's not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. It can be true, but I'm a laid back person. I'm a family man. You know what I mean? Like I say, my children are my solstice. You know what I mean? They bring my joy. They bring my peace. They bring my happiness. You feel me? They bring my purpose. Like I look at them and I'm like, y'all gonna be better than me type. You know what I mean? Like I could retire now. I already did. You know what I mean? The real work is in them. The work that I'm doing to help others, that's like community service. I'm really doing that to balance my scale because I committed 30 years of not being in the frequency types. You know what I mean? So
no, that is important. Yeah, I think your children definitely provides you with a different perspective of life and, definitely shift you.
I was a selfish teen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I keep it a buck. My purpose was very superficial. Feel me? Like I was very superficial. So I didn't have to feed nobody before. I didn't have to sacrifice me for another. You know what I mean? Maybe in a relationship here and there, but this became something that I liked it to do. Like I appreciated it because, I saw another human being happy and it was genuine. It wasn't like transactional type thing. So
do you think we can develop those type of relationships that we have with our children with other adults? Because sometimes, in adult relationships, some people can say, well, I don't want to deal with relationships because now I got to take on somebody else's traumas and I got to take on, I got to consider somebody else. And with our children, we can do that freely and openly without wanting to receive anything in return.
Right? Transactional. Right? So they say something about unconditional love. No, there's conditions to all love, even with your children. You fuck around and miss 3 Christmases and see how much it's conditions to it. My adoration and my love, and my children have a lot of. They could get away with a lot of shit with me. You feel me? Because it's just like, this is me. You know what I mean? Like. Y'all could do no wrong in my eyes. If y'all were to do wrong, I would take it personal. So I'm literally preparing myself mentally, spiritually. I'm cleaning a lot of my slate because if my children put me through what I put my parents through, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. You know what I mean? I can't wear this mask forever. I will be distraught. So I spend a lot of time with my father over the years. And my son, right? I would bring him over there every weekend. We would just chill, bond, play Uno, listen to jazz, you know what I mean? Joke and everything. Because I wanted my dad to see, you know what I mean, my achievement and my, you know, and with something that I created. You feel me? And me being a father, like how he was for me, because he's always been there. He's always been what we needed and whatnot. And we have to sometimes remind him that we love him and we appreciate everything. And, you know, my love language to him is my children, you know what I mean? And things like, and it's not perfect. I was going to say,
how do you as a black man show love to another black man? And I don't know if you like the term black, because I know we all, you know what I'm saying? So, because the way like women, when we show love to each other, you know, I feel like women is more easy, like we can easily show love to another woman. Right. But for a man, like I hear nowadays too, when men share love, it just be like, they'll get off them like, love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, like,
you know,
we help each other get the W. Because men are more about winning. We want to win because we so, especially us, like they want us to lose. We got so many people that want us to lose. So if I could throw an alley-oop to my peoples, that's a W. You know what I mean? If I could help somebody with with whatever resources that I have, then that's a W. Because I know if you win, then your children gonna be happy, then your wiz gonna be happy, people around you gonna be happy, and we just want to win. So I help people win.
Okay, so that's a way of expressing your love, is really by supporting other people. With whatever you have, you're going to make sure that if there's anything you can do, you'll do the same. Like you'll give them those resources as well.
I brought people close to me that didn't deserve to be close to me. I've let people into my inner circles, and I've plugged people into my vast network. I don't know nobody that got a network such as mine. And, you know, some people bit the hand. And some people were appreciative, you know what I mean? But it's not going to stop me from doing what I do. You know what I mean? It just might, you know, create more of a, you know, because men clash. We bump heads like women clash and whatnot. So, you know, it's ugly when men clash, you know what I mean? Because it could turn into altercations. Like, you know, men become violent with each other when they are disagreeable and whatnot. And what we do practice is conflict resolution. You know what I mean? We encourage that a lot. I don't know where I would be if I didn't have a twin, though. I promise you. My brother has pulled me out of so many graves, and he's been that voice that when I block everything out, I gotta listen to him, because he like, you fucking up my face, nigga. You look just like me. And when somebody say that to you, you can ignore everything else, but you be like, you know what? You got a point, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it right.
Okay, so that's amazing. And before we get out of here, I just want to touch a little bit on how do you think AI will change the world?
Oh, it's already changing the world.
But in that, because I remember like growing up, you have those movies like what was it, Smart House, you know, and I remember watching. I'm like, oh, that was cool. How do they do that? You know what I'm saying? So like, in what ways do you think? What ways do you think AI is changing the world right now? Because I definitely feel like it has an impact on our human interaction. I think that's one of the biggest.
I could do a whole show on this. Like, this is one of my love languages. I love technology, or what they call heka in ancient Kemet and whatnot. You know, I think I got a little bit of Ptah in my bloodline. It's not a good thing either, because he was kind of wicked. But technology is shifting everything that was, quote unquote, you know, it's just a great disruptor, right? And it's both a tool and a weapon, right? And it's also, you know, similar to what a gun is. Like, I don't like shooting deers. If I were in the forest and I seen these hunters killing the animals, I might shoot them, type thing. You know what I mean? But I know that a gun could protect you as well. But a gun could shoot Bambi and all of them and kill these beautiful animals type. Or a gun could be used in a, you know, school shooting, right? Same thing with the AI. It could be used to help you make more income streams, but it could also be used to lock you into a place where we could hack the shit out of you and we could make life very uncomfortable. And also, they got autonomous weapons now. So as a people who originally, if we accept the fact that we were behind the pyramids and we were behind sacred geometry and we are space travelers and we got portals and stargates, then the embracing of technology should not be something that we fear. We should actually move towards it, because all of the things that I mentioned have a component of technology to it. And when we look at the pyramids and these other things, we have to ask ourselves the questions: did that happen before, or is that going to happen in front of us? Like, is that a future thing or is that a past thing? The question is still out on the table and whatnot, because of the ways of how everything was created, the precision and all of these things. Only technology could do some shit, or advanced technology could bring that about. That wasn't man alone. So
one of my perspectives of technology is, yes, there is good, right? But I also feel like it's taken away from our humanness.
Yeah.
Right. Like you say, astral traveling, and we got telepathy, and I feel like those things are our superpowers, right? But when we go to imagine, what's the new thing they have, like the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
Like, we already have the metaverse in real life.
Yeah.
And if more people actually,
the internet, damn near.
if more people tap into like the metaverse we already have within us, like you say, astral traveling and the portals and the meditations and things like that, we wouldn't really need something called the metaverse, because it could be used as an escape. And it's taken away our divine nature. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Have you ever heard of the opium dens? All right, so the opium dens, I think it was in Sherlock Holmes. It opens up, and Robert Downey is in an opium den. So back in the days when China had the opium epidemic, the British was basically putting them on dope. They would have houses where people could go and basically escape and get high and just basically be in like their own little cubicle, just getting, like it was a den. You know what I mean? Almost like how they have saloons and whatnot where people go to get drunk. Escapism. So moving forward, we're going to have our youth, right, in these opium dens, right? So this is the headset. This is one of the headsets. I believe this is the Meta goggles and whatnot, and then you got the Apple and everything. So the children was already escaping reality with video games and all of these other things. So yes, this is going to be a higher level of escapism. This will be a merger of the analog into the digital. But I would ask you this, right? If it was not meant to be, how is it that a 1-year-old could activate an iPhone? You didn't teach them that. They didn't watch the how-to video. There's no manuals. They activate in technology before they learn how to walk and read. So there's something already pre-programmed in their DNA that is destined that in 5, 10, and 20 years, they're going to be way more proficient than they were in their 1-year-old phase, when they was already activating shit that a 60 or 70 or 80-year-old cannot.
Right.
So the children are coming pre-packaged and already pre-wired in advance. The technology is escalating at a place where it won't slow down and whatnot. And yes, we have to be very much balanced, because I can't remember 10 phone numbers off the top of my head no more. So there was a trade-off, right? However, is that trade-off working for us? Because I could broadcast to 1 million people, right, without being signed or owned by NBC and CBS. Before, if you broadcast, the word broadcast meant that you had to be contracted to the broadcast stations and all of that, and you just couldn't freely say what you wanted to say to people in real time, right? So the trade-off that we're dealing with is that we've gained more powers to do things in the digital or the electrified age, but we've kind of lost a few things that we picked up in the Piscean age. And I would say the further down a rabbit hole we go, the more of our powers, right, are becoming to get a little more decimated. Because I brought the pyramid up they were saying that they were moving that shit around with telepathy, right? So when we see these marvels of back in the days and whatnot of time of law, we like, damn, how do they do that? Well, they had more powers. When Hollywood and the screen came, writing suffered. If you read the writings of the 1800s, when our people were putting the pen, really going crazy with the pen, that kind of took a hit when the Vaudevilles and the Nickelodeons and then moving pictures came, and then radio came. And the music that's being made on the radio is not the music that Beethoven and them were making. You feel me? So yeah, shit is getting washed.
Yeah.
But this reality is washed.
Yes, and I agree. And I think this is a perfect point for people to sit at home, to think deeply and understand how will social media technology influence your life, because like we say, there's a good and there's a bad. Yeah. So which ones are you willing to take? So before we get out of here, I definitely want you to give one piece of advice to the world.
Oh man. Wow. Okay. My advice that I would give the world is that it gets greater later. Do not fall into the quote unquote mind state that getting advanced in your life or going down the path of quote unquote age is a detriment to you. No, when I became certain things got unlocked when I crossed the threshold of 40. It was almost like a celebration that my ancestors and my spirit guides was like, nigga, you made it. You a legend, because other people didn't make it. Don't ever let nobody try to shame you because your ass is evolving and you're growing. The only thing that you're taking cycles around the sun and whatnot. You can't stop that. You're timeless. You have no age. You have none of these. Stop letting these human restrictions weigh you down. You are ageless. Okay? You are priceless, but we are here for the experience. You can't experience everything at 18. You can't experience everything at 20. I was one of those people that thought I knew it all. You know nothing. You know what I mean? You have to complete your cycles. There's certain DNA that unlocks after you complete certain cycles. You can't prematurely unlock it. So there's gifts awaiting you. There's powers awaiting you. There's quote unquote ancestors that will come online that are awaiting you. Move forward. Take care of your body, take care of your spirit, and take care of your mind. That's a non-negotiable. And I'm not saying be all super duper, zealous with your growth and development, but focus on that shit. You feel me? Always have that on your frontal lobe that every day I'm striving to be better. Hey. And then it might not work perfectly, but stay on it because we are being tested. I want to just say this one thing. When it's all said and done, you're going to see that it's a test. When it's all said and done, you're going to see that this whole shit was a test. And you're going to get graded on that test. And I pray that you pass that test, because if you don't pass the test, you got to come back and do it again. The same thing like school, right? Remember getting left back, how embarrassing that was? Well, this niggas out here getting left back because they came here and they was lollygagging and it was not they did not pass the test. They did not learn anything from the last life. So you repeated class again while your peers are going to other planets or other planes of existence and they're excelling and whatnot. It don't end right here. I'll meet you niggas on Saturn or Venus somewhere, because that's where you graduate to and you keep going. This is a test. And if you remember that, then you will approach. Everybody's watching. This is the Truman Show. Everybody's watching. You can't hide. Everybody's watching. When you die or when that date comes, all of that shit is going to be rewinded anyway. Your hands are going to tell on you. Your eyes are going to tell on you. Your mouth going to tell on you. You can't hide. If you prematurely take yourself out of here, then you got to repeat it again. And that was from a trip that I went on recently, and it came to me. So I'll just share that.
All right, perfect. That's a perfect way to end Wholistic Conversations. I'm your host, Brittany. Today we had Red Pill on, a.k.a. Philp. Let the people know where they can find you. And, yeah, we're going to be out of here.
I'm on IG. I'm heavily shadow banned. They'll make it seem like if you one of my friends that you're gonna be watched by the Agent Smith, but still come on board. It's all good. Phil_Moreland. That's my last name, Moreland, because that's what we need, Moreland. And Patreon /Red Pillar. That's where a lot of my content and too hot for TV, too hot for YouTube stuff is at. And we also do master classes. It's a plethora of education and entertainment over there. And the YouTube channel, Know the Ledge 44, and the second one for technology and all things, dealing with crypto, Web3 and all of that. That's called Know the Ledger.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in again to Wholistic Conversations. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me, what did you think? Did you take away anything? Did you find anything interesting? If so, leave it in the comments, like, and subscribe. I'm your host, Brittany, and I will see you all again. Peace.
Peace.